Well, welcome to Level Up. Level Up is a series of short presentations. This one's going to be about 10 to 12 minutes long, aimed at highlighting various resources, tools, potential uses, expertise that can help library patrons. And we are currently in virtual mode. And you can find the recordings and resources for the series on an info guide at infoguides.rit.edu/LUV. And I will toss that into the chat. And I am now going to share my screen to give the formal short presentation. All right. So, as I said, welcome to Level Up. So today's session is entitled Why the Library? And the big question that we're going to just address here is why use library electronic resources when the web is full of free and easy to find information. And if you only use free web resources, you are probably overlooking valuable information. Your access to premium RIT library resources can really expand your information universe. So the purpose of today is to give some basic grounding in understanding how library resources differ from those on the open or free web. So, of course, one of the reasons people use the open or free web is Google makes searching easy. It's easy, it's efficient, in doing some of your research and in seeking information. And you are probably very successful every time you search Google. You're finding what you need. For example, let's say you're looking to go to a movie in the area, and all you have to do is Google the name of the movie, and it will immediately prompt you with places to see that movie and times to go see it. And then you've decided, okay, after the movie, we want to go out and get a meal and we want to have some Greek cuisine. So Google's also very helpful at helping you find local restaurants, because companies, mainly, it's usually companies, they are optimizing the Google search results so that you, the consumer, will discover their services and their products. So Google connects consumers to their offerings. So this is one example where people feel confident in searching Google because they're always getting good results when they're looking at things like this. Now, the other source on the open free web that people use is Wikipedia, and it's free. That's a bonus. It's easy to search, and it's a resource offering lots of information on lots of topics. And I am not poo-pooing Wikipedia. I do think it's a valuable resource because it's getting lots of input from people who are very interested in the huge range of topics that it is offering. For example, if you were looking for information on tires, where else could you go to get an immediate history on tires along with a huge reference list? The reference list on a Wikipedia entry is like a free treasure map to different articles, books, and resources on this topic. But if you try to follow that treasure map, you will soon discover that not everything in that references list is either on the web or available for free on the web. There are also, in addition to Wikipedia, there's something called Google Scholar. And this is something a lot of faculty might use and some students use. And what Google Scholar is trying to do is index scholarly or academic articles. And there are plenty of articles on Google Scholar for those looking for academic articles. Well, in reality, there are no articles on Google Scholar, as it's just a search tool, but it's a search tool that will help you discover articles that exist in the academic sphere. And yes, sometimes they're free. But usually with academic literature, what you find is the articles are hidden behind a paywall. So it wants you to pay for the articles or to subscribe to the journal that they're in. But while you are enrolled in college, in this case at RIT, you will probably have access to the full text of most of the academic articles you discover through Google Scholar, but you do have to go into the library's premium resources. One of the things to keep in mind if you are using Google Scholar is you need to set your Google Scholar settings to make sure it's looking at RIT's premium resources. Because if it finds a resource and it knows RIT has it, it'll give you easy direct access. So make sure you set the Google Scholar settings, and there is a link on the guide for this session as to how to do that. So you have these free resources out on the web, but we still think you should use the library. But one of the things people don't really understand is, what is today's library? Now, this is a definition. This is the classic definition of a library, a building or room containing collections of books, periodicals, films, and other items. But this definition is very dated. And libraries today serve as more than just access to printed materials. Most libraries, whether they're public libraries or they are academic college libraries, offer electronic resources. They offer ebooks, online periodicals, which contain articles via premium databases. They offer productivity software like word processors, spreadsheets, slide creation tools. And of course, most libraries offer free access to the internet. So to think of the library as a building of books is limiting your possibilities in searching for information. Today's academic library has many of the physical things that libraries of old had, but today's academic library also has tons of electronic resources that contain information that is not free on the web. And while you're attending school here at RIT, you have access to hundreds of electronic databases with scholarly articles, news, videos, standards, chemical information, medical literature, computing information, art resources, historical information, and a ton more. You will probably never have access to this amount of information again unless or until you enroll in another college. Now, in addition to today's academic library, as a student living in Monroe County at RIT, near RIT, you also have access to the local public library. So the local public library near RIT is called the Henrietta Public Library. And then the entire public library system in the area is the Monroe County Library System. And you can get a library card at the Henrietta Library if you're living in Rochester. There is a link to the Henrietta Library on the info guide for this session. And they don't have as many databases as we have, but they might have some databases we don't have. A lot of public libraries will have genealogy databases. That's something an academic library might not buy. Now, in addition to a local public library, in some states, the largest city in the state, which usually has the largest library system, offers residents of the state and people attending school in the state, people working in the state, no matter where they live. You don't have to live in New York City. You can get a New York Public Library card if you're living, working, or attending school in New York State. These are free, and you will get access to hundreds of premium resources that you can access directly from home using that library card number. And yes, The New York Public Library has some resources that the RIT Library does not have access to, but could be helpful in your research. So keep in mind, using all of these different libraries because of these premium resources can expand your information universe. But what is a premium resource? Well, the key characteristic of a premium resource is it's available only by subscription or fee. So let's think about videos. So think about YouTube is a platform that offers a lot of free videos. And then Netflix is a platform that offers videos. In this case, it's usually television, film, or documentaries for a fee. It's a subscription service. It is a premium service. In the case of a library, there are tons of companies selling us article databases, standards databases, medical information databases, and we buy them. We pay a fee or we subscribe yearly to get them to offer our students and our faculty and our staff access. So these we buy premium resources across all the topics and subjects taught at RIT. Now they are designed to support classes and research, where a public library, as I said, might buy a genealogy database because a lot of people out in communities are interested in doing family history research. And in addition to premium resources, this idea of subscription resources, you also have access to, through using your library, what's called a premium service that's named Interlibrary Loan. Interlibrary Loan is a service that many libraries have. A public library is usually going to charge a fee to use it, and they might have access to the same type of things that an academic library like RIT has access to. What is Interlibrary Loan? It's a service where if you have maybe discovered a book exists on your topic or an article, but you've also come to realize that RIT doesn't already have that book or RIT doesn't have access to that article, then we can ask, and you would just place an order to have the Interlibrary Loan Service track it down and find a copy that if it's a physical book, we can get to you, or if it's an article, we can get as a PDF, and you can then get access to it. So our premium resources have a lot, but they don't have everything. So Interlibrary Loan is a premium service that you use to complement the tools that you use to discover resources. Now, can you get everything from Interlibrary Loan? And the answer is no. There are some things that libraries will not loan, like textbooks. Libraries hate loaning textbooks because they want their students to have access to them. And then there are some things that libraries won't buy. For example, market research. Most libraries will not buy market research because the cost of a market research report usually starts around $2,000, and they have what is called a short shelf life. The information ages very fast and isn't helpful. So most academic libraries will not buy market research reports to lend. They buy access to market research reports in their premium databases for their students to use. So keep in mind that ILL, or Interlibrary Loan, is a great premium service that complements the premium resources. Now, what if you have been going along all this time that you've been at RIT or another college, and you've always found what you need on the web? Have you found all the things that you need on the web? That's a question you might not know the answer to unless you further explore what the library has, because the web isn't always going to give you clues to information that a library has. Now, who might know that? And that is the subject librarians at your college. I'm the business librarian. There's a librarian that supports each of the colleges, and they're familiar with the subjects taught in those colleges and the databases that support those subjects. So subject librarians spend their lives searching for information in particular subject areas. They don't know everything about everything, but an experienced subject librarian knows where to search, how to search, what to look for, and what might not be available. And they can teach you how to search for yourself, and they can help level your expectations around the information you're seeking. And ultimately, they are going to save you time. So back to this original thought of why use a library. As I said just in the previous slide, the subject expertise offered by the subject librarians to give you direction and instruction around the things that you're learning at RIT, to complement that with premium resources that offer articles, books, and other information. And overall, you can access lots of info that you cannot get for free on the web, and that will help your research projects. They will help you stay informed about your community, the country you're in, or the world in general. You have access to tons of news and other resources from around the world. And ultimately, at RIT, your tuition dollars have already paid for all of this information, just like your tuition dollars pay for the gym. So why not use or explore the resources that you have access to? And if you're paying taxes in a community, your tax dollars are paying for the public libraries. So use the public libraries that your dollars have bought information for. So where to start? This is kind of key, because even though I can lay out the scope of what you have and give you a few ideas, one of the hardest things is to understand, well, I might be interested in this, so where on earth do I start? Without talking to anybody, a great place to start is the library website. If you go to the library website, there's a box right in the center, what's called a summon box. And that summon search sits on top of all the article databases. So if you search in that box that's right on the library homepage, which is linked on the guide, you are searching across most of the article databases and the book catalog, and you can start to discover some of the things you didn't realize you had access to. There's also something called the info guides. If you've attended another library, you might have heard of lib or lib guides. The lib guides are guides curated by the subject librarians with information and resources with some context. So if you were looking for marketing research, there's a marketing info guide that lists the best databases for different types of marketing information, whether it's articles, demographics, market research reports. And then ultimately, chatting with a librarian, chatting with one of the subject librarians or reference librarians is a great way to discover some of the resources. And that conversation is going to be more targeted than the library website. It's going to be more targeted than the info guides information. And no matter what college you are at, the library is bound to have a department that is called reference or research. We call ourselves reference librarians, and the department we work in is research and instruction services. So ultimately, start exploring what you have access to, whether it's with a librarian at your side or you're just taking a dive into the summon search on the library homepage, because there is a lot of interesting info that is hidden within the library's premium resources. So that's a short, as Level Up is, a short presentation on a small topic. That concludes this Level Up session. Thank you for attending or watching this presentation.